Yep. All right, here we go. Just be calm, it's okay. Hi, Jim Schreiner. I'm back on my television show, Defending My Faith. And I'm excited again. As you can see, we're still at the Buddhist temple in Orlando, and I'm with my friend Melinda Yeh. Is that correct? It was interesting when I first started to come to the Buddhist temple. She was one of the instructors here, teachers here, is that what you call it? That she actually taught Buddhism 101. And that's how I got introduced to the concept, and she was one of the first people here. I would encourage you, if it's not this temple, get to one of the temples, because no matter what you believe, as far as again, as you know from following me, I was born in Catholicism and in Christianity, and I knew nothing about Buddhism. No matter what you believe, what I can tell you is when you walk in the presence of this place, you'll be treated kindly with more compassion than I've ever seen. And the atmosphere and the energy that you feel here is truly life-changing. And again, even if you don't agree with everything that they teach, it's a profound experience. And I promise you that it will change your life as it's changed mine. So visit a Buddhist temple somewhere, because I think that you'll see that these people are probably the kindest, most compassionate people that you'll find. And I'm proud to call some of these people my friends. So let's talk about, I get this question all the time, and I actually interviewed some people here. Try to explain a little bit how you got into Buddhism. And if I'm not mistaken, your parents were Buddhist, but you were not a Buddhist at the time. Is that correct? So tell me how you got into Buddhism.
Okay, sure. Yeah, my parents had been Buddhist all their lives, and not that I wasn't Buddhist, I just really wasn't anything because I didn't really understand the whole concept of it. You know, they had gotten me to go to Buddhist services on Sundays, and I didn't understand the language. It was all in Chinese.
Oh, I see.
And so I really couldn't, you know, even ask questions or find out more, even if I wanted to. So how I got into it was actually in 2003. I was coming back home from college, and I was extremely bored. And my parents were watching Chinese soap operas, and I didn't understand what it was, you know, talking about. And my mom, knowing that I love to read, she always throws Buddhist books at me, and I usually never read them. Well, that day I was that bored that when she threw it at me and I had nothing else to do, I took it and I read the first page. And that was actually a book from our master, Venerable Master Sheen, and it was Buddhism Pure and Simple, and it was actually the 8 realizations of enlightened beings. And I read maybe one sentence to one paragraph of it, and I was just floored.
Hooked.
Yes, it was amazing. So actually took the book, went upstairs, and was really thinking deeply about it, and at the same time falling asleep. And so unbeknownst to me, I was actually in some, you know, went into some kind of meditative state. And then all I can remember was kind of falling asleep, thinking about the concepts, which was basically how everything is impermanent, and that nothing lasts for very long. Everything is just constantly changing. And so I was thinking about this, and meanwhile I was thinking about it, my parents live in Orlando, Florida, on the 6th floor of a condo. And at the same time I was thinking about this, the fireworks from Walt Disney World, Universal Studios, all of that started lighting up the sky as I'm falling asleep. And so while I'm thinking about impermanence, I see these beautiful fireworks and through the window, and they are just, you know, they go off and they're beautiful, and then they disappear.
Oh, I see.
And then they go off.
So it resonated almost like...
Yes, while I was thinking about it, you know, I was looking at it.
I see.
And so, and that's how all life is it comes and it goes. So I had it, you know, right in front of me, showing me exactly what I was reading. And then, so I was falling asleep. I saw this beautiful light. It was just a white light, and it was completely peaceful.
Wow.
And it was kind of pulling me. And when I read about near-death experiences, it kind of reminds me of that, just this beautiful light pulling me. And I felt like it was pulling me towards it. And as it was pulling me towards it, I felt my heart slowing very slowly. And I felt like if I continued following it, you know, I might die.
Oh, really?
And so, and as I was thinking this, I heard my parents' voices downstairs. And as soon as I heard their voices, I thought, oh, what if they came in the next morning and I had passed?
Oh, wow.
how terrible that would be. And as soon as I thought that single thought, I just came right back into my body and I came out of that state. And the first thing that I thought of, which just gets into the interesting, the first thing that I guess the light left on me was that 0 squared equals 1 squared equals infinity squared.
Okay.
And so if you know math, it means that 0 equals 1, which equals infinity, which doesn't make any sense from a normal perspective.
This just kind of came to you.
Yeah, it just came to me.
That's what was left in your conscious
my mind
after this light experience.
After the whole light experience. And so it was, basically that 0 equals 1 equals infinity. And I was left the rest of the night, because I never slept that whole night, thinking about this. And people, when I tell this story, they always ask, oh, why was the squaring part?
Right.
Squared. Well, if you think about powers, when you move from one dimension to another, you are actually going to the next power.
Okay.
So let's say you have the number 5, you square it, it becomes a square, it's 25. And then cube it, you go into 3 dimensions,
I see.
and it is 5 cubed. So you're changing dimensions as you go from one power to the other. So this light basically told me that no matter what realm you're in, no matter what dimension you're in, 0 and 1 and infinity are the same number.
Okay.
So that's what I got from it. Now, it took me many years to figure out what all this meant.
Okay.
Because basically I had to learn a lot about Buddhism to figure out what it meant. But what I came up with, which were some theories, was that once you have a 0, you actually, it's kind of like a point of view. Once you have a 0, if you think of a number line, you have all of a sudden you have positive and negative numbers. And so that viewpoint basically bifurcates all of reality into either things that you want or things that you don't want. And so that's how, like, a mundane point of view. And so all of this causes either your joys or your sufferings in your life. Getting the things that you want or not getting the things you want. Getting the things that you don't want or not getting the things that you don't want. So it just kind of creates all of reality. And then the other side of it, the only way I could figure out how 0, 1, and infinity could be the same is if you think of a circle. So in a circle, any point can be the beginning point, and it could be the ending point, and it could be an individual point. And so only on a circle can you see that 0, 1, and infinity can be the same number.
I see.
Okay, so you take a point on the circle, that's the beginning, that's the end, and that's also one point on the circle. And so an enlightened reality would kind of look at things in that way. Instead of seeing duality of positive and negative, you see all things as kind of one, that they're all part of the same thing.
Did that tie in with you then about, we learned earlier about the Buddhism, journey of life, death, suffering, that it being in a circle. Did that come together at some point then? Did you see that what you were just talking about, the 0 and the 1 kind of married up together with the Buddhism philosophy then?
Yeah, that was, basically that point of view takes away the duality of everyday life, and that when things happen that you suffer from them. Because you see things as that's just how things are, that things are constantly changing. To me it did. But that's kind of how I got into, from that day on, I decided that this was going to be a part of my life, and I was going to do everything I can to learn everything about it and teach other people. So.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. Earlier, when you first started, there were 8 different, what did you call them? The 8 different things in Buddhism.
Oh, the 8 Noble Eightfold Paths?
Yes. Okay. Can you talk freely about some of those? What are the 8?
Oh, you're talking about the 8 realizations.
Yes, that was it. I'm sorry, when you first started, there were 8 realizations, and I've heard of that, and I read it and stuff. But so what are the 8 different realizations? I
don't have them all memorized.
Okay, all right. All right, what are the most important ones? What's the most important one?
I mean, the first one was that is that all things come and they they grow kind of, they come to a peak and then they decline.
Okay.
And so in that first one, I know it talks about even great nations, even nations go through that cycle, but pretty much everything goes through that cycle. So we're just talking about even the Dharma is going through that cycle of getting to a peak and then slowly declining. But accepting that is the other part, being able to accept that. A lot of times our suffering comes when we can't accept that as truth.
Is one of the 8 compassion? Is that one of them? I don't know, one of the 8. What do you call them?
I really do.
Because I know for some reason that kind of the underlying.
15 years.
What's that?
It's been 15 years since I read it.
No, kind of one of the underlying themes of Buddhism is, no matter how I talk to, is that there's such a compassionate culture. It's the theory. It's not even a religion as more as it's a theory. It's a philosophy,
right.
And their whole philosophy seems to be based on the fact that we just need to be more compassionate. Mm-hmm. Where does that tie in? How did that come about? As being so ingrained into the theory or philosophy of Buddhism, compassion. It seems like that it's just resonates.
Right. I think it goes back to the Four Noble Truths, which is a basic tenet of Buddhism. The first one is that there is suffering or unsatisfactoriness. And then the second one is the cause of that unsatisfactoriness is wanting or craving. And the third is that there's a way out of that suffering. And the fourth is the way out of that suffering. So I think when it comes to that suffering and unsatisfactoriness is such a part of life, and that knowing and understanding that everybody suffers creates that compassion. So all the suffering that you go through with your wife, or creates compassion for you to help others.
Right.
And so like Venerable Melba was saying, there's that duality. There's that one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum, and with that one end, you get the other.
Right.
And so, compassion is just a part of that.
You have to experience both of them. It's like, in the human anatomy, we talk about, there's always a muscle that pushes and one that pulls, and in different theories in life, there's always opposing actions, and in the Buddhism, now I've been understanding you have to experience the positives and the negatives, because that if you just experienced all positives, I forget what I was reading the other day, and it said the suffering, it molds you. That's my friend was telling me the story of this butterfly, and this kid was walking by, and the butterfly was coming out of the cocoon, and it would come out and it'd fall to the ground, and one day he saw another do it, so he decided to help it, and he cut open the cocoon to help it. And then when he came back later, the butterfly had died, and what they had realized was it was that struggle. It was the work that he had to put in to get out of that cocoon. That struggle was what gave him the power to survive. But without that struggle, he helped him open. It didn't allow him to fully form and give him everything that he needed to fly. So by him helping him, it actually made it worse. Because it was that struggle that molded the butterfly into being a powerful butterfly. So
I love that.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then so I said, and you look at my life, I've had some great experiences, and then I've had some horrible experiences, but it's molded me into the person that I am. And it's so funny that you look back in life, and love's that double-edged sword, because it almost, I'll be honest, and it's almost made me not want to love as deeply as I did with my wife, because the pain was so much that I didn't want to experience that again. So I loved her so much, and that was amazing. But then when she died, it hurt so bad that I didn't want to experience that pain again. So I've had my shield up that I really didn't want to fall in love with another person, because I didn't want to experience that pain again. I didn't know if I could handle it. So you have to look at life and say that you have to experience the good and the bad, and that's going to make me a better person. It's made me a better person, but now I have to tell myself that, as we learned earlier, that it's that ever-flowing cycle, that I just have to enjoy that journey. I have to enjoy that journey and accept the good and the bad, and it's just going to happen, But it scares you, because, like I said, man, I loved her so much that it hurt so bad, and I'm like, I don't want her like that again.
Well, I think in Buddhism, you go through that process over and over again with rebirths. You go through that process of loving and losing, and then eventually I think you find that there's another kind of love, and it's a more non-attached or non-conditional love, and it's basically a love for all beings equally, and seeing that that everybody suffers in that way, and it creates that overwhelming compassion to teach others the Dharma so they don't suffer.
I see.
And I think that's what, you know, in Buddhism that people strive for in the end. You know, after all these rebirths where you love and you lose and all that stuff, you figure that out. So it's like the next step after that.
And I'm not going to get the facts straight again, but one of the days you told me when we were talking, it had something to do with your family, that that your mother loved your father so much or something that she believed he was coming back as somebody else or something like that. There was a story that you told, and it was a personal story about somebody in your family that, if you need to go ahead. But thank you again. We'll thank you. I'll talk to you in a little bit. We'll cut this part anyway.
Okay,
so
sure.
then we'll start. Remember, you were telling the story. It had something to do with your mother and father, or your uncle, or something. That because I was talking to you about could they possibly come back as themselves again? So I told the story. Do you remember that one? Who was it in your family?
My dad just recently passed away, so it was probably my dad.
Okay.
And my mom, you know, she doesn't want him. She loves him so much. She doesn't want him to come back because she wants him to go.
That was it. Stop. Okay,
right.
So let's start that again, because now I remember what it was. You said that she wanted to reconnect with him or something. Is that right? Did I say that right? Okay.
Because it has to do with the whole.
Okay. No. I wanted to just talk about how. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
How.
Because that's how I find out some
For,
information. But
yeah, if you don't want to talk about that, well, I was trying to figure out how, because it goes along with what she said, that you can actually will and love something so much that you can be connected to it again.
yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is there a way you can talk about that? Because I thought that's how you described it. Like, she didn't want him to come back again because she wanted to reach nirvana or something again herself, and that she felt like then she would be connected with him in his life.
She wants him to go to a place where he can just learn Dharma and not have to suffer and come back.
Okay, explain that then. All right, so let's stop there, because that's what I need to understand. I don't understand how that works. How do you get there?
Okay, so that's a whole other part of Buddhism called the pure.
All right, because let's start there. Okay. So I want to. Okay, so let's start. How do I want to start this? Okay. Early on, they're doing the thing. That's cool. That's great. Yeah, they might be able to pick that up. That's cool. Early on, when I met you before, you were telling a story about when your father recently passed away. Your mother wanted him to go to another realm, and I didn't understand that. And most people watching this won't. So try to explain that. How's that happen?
Okay, there's a whole part in Buddhism called the Pure Land school, and it talks about a Buddha named Amitabha, and it comes from the Amitabha Sutra, which is a very different sutra, because most of the time the Buddhist sutras, which are the Buddhist teachings, come from somebody asking a question.
Okay.
But for this particular one, nobody asked a question about it. He just started talking about it. And basically, he said that there was a Buddha named Amitabha, and because of his vows, his deep vows, that's another thing in Buddhism is vows. Basically, a bodhisattva has such strong vows, they are so determined and have such good intentions for this vow to come true that basically it automatically comes true.
Okay. When you say a vow, you're not talking about a vow like a commitment to my wife as being a vow. You're talking about a vow.
Like like a deep promise that the vows that they make are immeasurable. Basically, the vows are like, I vow to save all the beings and how.
Oh, okay.
To reach enlightenment. I go down there and I'm going to teach them until they reach enlightenment. So this Buddha named Amitabha, he created this vow that he was going to make this realm where beings can learn the Dharma and they never have to be reborn and go through suffering.
So they could initially get out of this cycle that we talked about earlier, the birth, suffering.
Yeah, that's actually kind of the point in the Dharma and in Buddhism, is to get out of the cycle and reach enlightenment.
See, that's what I didn't understand. Because earlier we were discussing that you just always kept recycling almost, regenerating, but now you're saying that there's a way that you could actually stop that and get out of that cycle.
Yes, and so that's enlightenment. That's
okay.
Yes, and And well, there's different schools of thought. Okay, some the old school, which is Theravada Buddhism, the original Buddhist teachings talked about getting out of this cycle, reaching enlightenment. The second school is Mahayana Buddhism, and that talks about staying to help others and teach others.
I see. Right.
And so, so there's different schools. And then humanistic Buddhism, which we are a part of, is kind of a branch of Mahayana Buddhism, but basically it's more about looking within yourself and working hard yourself, practicing yourself, helping others in this world, to help others and reach enlightenment. So a more worldly view, and in your daily life you can practice, and you don't have to go to the mountains and meditate to reach enlightenment. So it's another branch.
So what does a person have to do then to reach nirvana? If, let's say, they wanted to follow that philosophy, that they wanted to get out of the cycle and they wanted to reach that realm, is it just being such a good person that you kind of earn your way out of it?
That's where the Four Noble Truths come in. So the Buddha talked about those Four Noble Truths, that there is suffering, that there is the reason for suffering, the way out, that's enlightenment, the third noble truth. And then the fourth noble truth is the way out. And so basically, you can think of it as a doctor. He tells you what's wrong, and then he tells you that there is a cure, and then he tells you the prescription, what you need to do. And so the way out is called the Noble Eightfold Path, and it's, if you want me to list it, it's right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right meditation or mindfulness, and right concentration.
And if you practice those throughout your journey,
yes.
But it could be multiple journeys.
Yes.
So you could have been in this cycle 10,000 times,
yes.
And then once you, let's say, completed those, how many were there? 5? The truth, the things you just read out loud? 8. Okay, once you, let's say, perfected those,
yes.
Then you, in essence, could earn your way out,
yes.
and reach nirvana.
Yes.
I got it now.
So that is kind of the point. Or you can stay back and help others reach it. And so really, there's no higher point of life than to help others see this, because you know, as you practice, you start suffering less, and then you also see that other people suffer the amount that they suffer, and so all you want to do is teach and help them out of that.
Like I say, it's kind of like a catch-22. You perform and do so well, you could actually almost earn a pass and get out. But if you're a good person and you're compassionate and you care about others, you really don't want to get out, because you could come and help other people.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a catch-22.
Yeah.
You know, are you being selfish and saying, hey, I don't want to do this anymore and I want to go to heaven or nirvana? Or do I say, well, I could really help some people, so I need to stay here. And
so that's the difference between a Buddha and a Bodhisattva. A Bodhisattva stays and helps, and a Buddha reaches complete enlightenment. Now, there's...
Oh, no, wait, but a bonus. The other one, it started off as a Buddha, and that's what you called it, a bona fide?
A Bodhisattva? Yeah. So there is, which I think most people believe, that a Buddha has been a Bodhisattva for many,
I
many
see.
times.
I see. Many.
And then finally, lets that go.
Oh, I see.
And then...
And got to nirvana.
Yeah. Got to nirvana. So...
But a Buddha stayed back.
A Bodhisattva
stays back to help.
To help, yes.
I see.
And so their very last attachment is to help all living beings reach that highest goal. So.
And explain again why your mother wanted your father to get to the...
Okay, so that whole thing is called Amitabha's Pure Land. So that's a whole school of Buddhism where there is that realm where you don't fall down into samsara, which is what they call those 6 realms.
Okay.
And you stay there, and you just, everything speaks the Dharma to you.
I see.
And
it's enlightenment. So I said
it teaches you everything. The birds sing it. Everything is teaching you. And so she wants him to be there. She does not want him to come back.
No more suffering, no more pain.
He's just going to stay there until he learns all that he needs to reach enlightenment. So that's what she wants for him. But I think my dad's still attached to her.
I see. Okay, I got it.
So I probably eventually they will just learn together. Somehow
Right.
be born together and learn together.
And somehow that could happen, that they could actually be so connected that somehow in this rebirth cycle that they could be born, or would you say connected again somehow.
Yeah, I totally believe, that probably will happen because of their connection. So, that's definitely possible. So,
Cool. Good enough. Good job.
Yeah.
Hey, can't thank you enough for tuning in. That's another episode of Defending My Faith. Like I said, we're still down here in Orlando, and as you can see, the beautiful temple. If you ever get to Orlando, you have to come and visit this temple. I told you, it was a life-changing experience. I put it up there. It's probably one of the top 5 things that I've been able to experience in my life. I can't thank you enough for your continued support and belief in me, and continue to follow my journey. Go to my website, Defending My Faith. I'll see you on the road.
All right.
Cool beans.